Hi, everyone, and welcome to Our Disabled Future, a series where disabled voices lead the way. I'm your host, Nico, and it is a good day for disability inclusion. Each day during Disability Pride Month and beyond, I'm amplifying real disabled stories, where we are, where we want to go, and how the heck we're going to get there. Together, I think. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Molly. Let's dive in. Hi, Molly. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Tell us about yourself and about your disabled life.
Well, let's see. I have been disabled all my life with cerebral palsy of the lower extremities. I grew up in Pennsylvania and I have been living in Los Angeles for the last 20 years.
That's remarkable. That's quite a move.
Yes.
What does a disability friendly future look like for you?
Um, I was really intrigued by this question when I read it because as someone in my 50s, I feel with the current environment, it's a very scary time. And we've made uh, much progress in my lifetime, but there is still so much to be done. And that's kind of frightening because I am in my 50s. So, it's kind of a catch as catch can attitude for me because there's still so many, for example, practitioners out there that don't know what to do with people in my age group. Um, I don't know if you've had other guests on previously, but uh, I'm assuming you have the statistics where once you reach 18 and you're legally an adult, it's pretty much the attitude is, well, you're on your own. You're in the forest by yourself and you have to figure it out. So, um, now that, like I said, I'm in my 50s and I use transportation services that are specific for adults with um, mobility challenges and challenges, whether they're elderly or disabled, I see so many fellow riders in ridership who don't have, let's say, for the speaking ability that I have, they can't advocate for themselves when they're on the vehicle. So there's been many times just in the last couple of weeks where I have stepped forward without stepping on a moving vehicle and said, "Okay, well, I'll just pay the fare. You know, I'll let the caregiver know. Don't worry about it. You don't have to unbuckle. I'll let the caregiver know who comes to, and I'm just a writer, just like this person, but maybe they're not verbal, or maybe there's a problem with their, bank card or something like that. So that's the kind of things that strike me, and I feel so fortunate as a person with a disability. I have the ability and was trained by my family and my friends and my parents growing up. It was drilled into me. You have to advocate for yourself because if you don't expect anybody to do it for you. And I guess what I struggle mentally with is with all of the accomplishments that I've had and with all of the things that I've done in my life, I I'm saddened at the fact that I still have to advocate for myself because there are practitioners out there who say, "Oh, well, I didn't know that." For example, I was in the hospital last year and I had unnecessary MRIs and CAT scans, precautionary, and I kept saying all along, "Have you spoken to my doctor? Here's her name. Here's her address. Here's her fax number. Why don't you talk to her?" And I spent more time in the hospital than I had to. And at the end of my hospital stay, um, the director of orthopedics came around with a bunch of residents, saw me at the end of the bed, putting my regular clothes on, looked at my chart, looked up again, looked at my chart, looked up again, and said an expletive and said, I don't understand. Why have you been here so long? It's clear you have cerebral palsy. And I just gave him a thumbs up and he said, go the blank home. And when I got to my follow-up appointment with my care, my physician, she was angry because she said, I didn't even know you were in the hospital. No one called me, and I would have never authorized this CAT scan, this MRI, or this X-ray that they did 3 times for no reason, all because I kept saying to the people who would come in and out of the hospital room, they want to do it again. They don't know why your joints are elevated. They don't know why your knees look this way. And I kept saying, I have cerebral palsy. Hi, I have cerebral palsy. I have scar tissue on this part of my body and scar tissue here. And I must have said it so many times that they actually had somebody come in from, the psychological side of it. And he did an interview with me. And I said, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just saying, please, thank you for caring for me, but listen to what I'm saying. I'm telling you my medical history, and that's what's frightening.
That is remarkably scary. Thank you for advocating for yourself.
Yes.
One of my dear friends is someone named Mary who also has cerebral palsy, and she's spoken a lot about the lack of knowledge in the medical field about adults who have cerebral palsy. And lack of knowledge often also means lack of resources, and in this case, it does. So there's that. In your answer, I hear a desire for more widespread knowledge, and I can really support that. How do you think we can make that future a reality, Molly?
I think a solution is through podcasts like this and to make more individuals all across the spectrum, no matter what their, you know, different abilities are, to be represented and be put forward to be part of the conversation, even if it's an adaptive conversation. That's what's lacking. Um, it's it's made a larger presence online, but from your expertise in Philadelphia, that not only does representation matter, but sometimes it's more effective if you see a person face to face. And I don't just mean through a screen and through a YouTube channel. And I noticed that, like I said, in my 50s, I noticed that has been the essence of what still needs to be improved. We all have, and I can speak from my own personal self, and I've seen it myself. We all have instances where we're in a public place or we're at a job or we're at a volunteer situation where there are still people who will turn to the normative looking person and speak about the person who happens to have the disability when the person with the disability, whether it be visual or not, is right there. And that's still a huge, huge problem.
It's insulting too, right? When they don't address you and they would rather
Absolutely.
address the seemingly able
Absolutely.
person.
Sure. Absolutely. 100%.
Molly, thank you for the passion you brought to this conversation. I really feel fired up. As we close our time together, I want to
Yes.
give you a space that you and I, as disabled people, rarely get. And that is a chance to brag about yourself, promote anything you've got going on, or maybe a recent win. Um, if you have like a large presence online, where can people find you? This is just space for you to be your own cheerleader. Go ahead and brag.
Sure. Sure. I'm a former teacher who's currently retired and considered permanently disabled. So a lot of what I do is online and as a volunteer. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and Indeed. Um, and I would certainly like to be a voice for this topic, which is so hugely necessary. So I don't know if you are asking for me to give my whole name, but you know, my name online is Molly Papazian, Papazian, and you can find me on all those platforms.
Fantastic. Thank you, Molly.
You're
Everybody,
welcome.
yeah, everybody, tune in next time. Remember, it's our disabled future, and we're building it together, one day at a time. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I'm rooting for you, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Bye.